All right, so we're here with John Donovan, who's the principal consultant and founder at Strawberry Hill Solutions. So, John, appreciate having you today.
Thanks, Tim.
For coming in.
Glad to be here.
So, this is our first interview as part of our newsletter to kind of get folks that are leaders in the industry, been around Fintech for a long time, kind of get your perspective on the industry, on the market, how things have changed, and the like. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just wanted to start off, I know that you're at Strawberry Hill now. You're at Fidelity for 23 plus years.
Yep.
Probably before the buzzword Fintech, where financial institutions started looking at technology. When did you start kind of seeing that transition and that focus on technology in the finance world?
Yeah. Well, I'd say that the big focus in technology, technology maybe a decade ago across the finance world. In finance, financial services companies have always had a big focus on technology and leverage technology, but it really accelerated a decade ago and has continued to accelerate as the fintech craze is built, and fintech has been delivering more and more value across the marketplace. But in the case of Fidelity, I was attracted to Fidelity 25 years ago because Fidelity was a big technology user, and we used to say Fidelity we're as much a technology company as we are a financial services company. So Fidelity had always been in the technology business and using technology to deliver financial services to folks. So fintech is nothing new to that firm, and others I think are starting to catch up and expand into different areas now.
Yeah, and I think especially in this area, Boston seems to be a hub for it, not only technology, but the fintech space and startups everywhere and institutions evolving and things like that. What do you think makes this area so attracted to that?
Well, you've got a lot of fine institutions of higher learning here, great colleges and universities. You've got a great history of delivering financial services, investments, banking here in the Northeast, especially in the Boston area. And the two combine to deliver innovation and innovative solutions to the financial services marketplace, to consumers of financial services.
And I think, so you've been all around New England, right? I mean, different offices at Fidelity, and have been here, went to Holy Cross, right?
Yes.
In New England. So I think you've kind of seen that. Is that, you find a lot of homegrown talent?
Yeah.
Because of that college and all that stuff.
Right. There are a lot of great talent being coming to the universities here, the colleges here, and developing at the colleges and universities here. And there's a lot of opportunity once they leave college to work in the industry in the Northeast, New England. And then, of course, there's New York nearby as well. And that's a big draw for a lot of talent that is coming out of the schools here in the Northeast.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to be, I think, for us, but also for anyone aspiring to be in that. So when you're at Fidelity, not to put you on the spot, but was there one or two kind of marquee accomplishments that you could think of that you look back and say, we're really proud of that?
Well, one that was, you'd say, is fintech related. Before fintech was, the term fintech was established, was a website we developed called it Advisor Central. And Advisor Central was used by Fidelity's intermediary business. A lot of people know Fidelity because of their direct to consumer funds and brokerage, et cetera. But Fidelity also offers funds and services to intermediaries, other broker dealers, insurance companies, banks, et cetera. And those are our customers, and they ultimately sell those funds on to end consumers. We put together a website with our competitors that allowed our investment advisors and organizations that we were dealing with to access funds, trade funds, and access services that we're providing that they could then turn around and deliver to their end users. And that was a pretty cool and exciting project to work on, especially since we were doing it in conjunction with our competitors, a kind of a common clearinghouse for financial services for the intermediary community. Also, not fintech related, but leveraging technologies that are used in fintech today. I worked for the legal department at Fidelity, supported the legal department for a number of years. And there we put in place a matter management system and discovery systems that helped us better manage our spend with external, with law firms, the external firms we were doing business with, outside counsel we were doing business with. And we were able to save Fidelity and ultimately Fidelity customers substantial amount of money in legal fees, and also in discovery. We were able to bring a lot of discovery that would normally be handed off to outside counsel, bring that in-house with the tools we put in place that leveraged search and sophisticated search and analysis to identify relevant information to cases we were party to.
And I think that, I think we were talking earlier, that kind of spiraled into some stuff that, you get into compliance, you get into,
right.
That kind of set down a certain path for technology to kind of affect a lot of different businesses within not just Fidelity, but.
Yeah, compliance is a big part of fintech today. Fintech, and you could be labeled it RegTech. These compliance technologies, AI, machine learning, and then data, large data stores, large data set management, in conjunction with AI and machine learning, can be leveraged, in this compliance space, which is critical for financial services firms and critical for consumer protection. They can be used to help identify fraud, elder abuse, identify money laundering situations, identify places where funds are being used to fund terrorist organizations, maybe help with identity protection. So all these areas, there's fintech technology being applied and used, and solutions being put in place to help in the compliance space, both inside companies like Bank of America, Fidelity, Vanguard, Citi, JP Morgan, et cetera, inside those companies, but also being leveraged by the regulators that oversee the operations of those companies.
And that, I think that kind of leads me to my next question, is there kind of two sides to that coin, right? There's kind of the RegTech, people, and the others, as regulations kind of move further and get a little bit more stringent, that there's technology being used there as well. Is that right?
That's right. Right. The regulators using the technology to help them fulfill their obligations to oversee the industry.
That's interesting. So it seems like, I think when most people think of fintech or RegTech, and everything's kind of siloed, but it's really not like, it seems like everything kind of affects each other, and everything kind of bleeds into one another.
It really does. And fintech fintech and RegTech are in a very complex and interwoven ecosystem. So everything kind of touches on each other.
That's interesting. And just to go back to that, I think initial kind of accomplishment you were talking about, when you had to get with competitors, and I found that interesting, doing what we do, building teams and putting folks together. Right. How important was it to have a team that not only had the right skill sets, but worked well together, even if you weren't from the same institution? Right.
Very important, especially working with competitors, to have folks that wanted to work with you. And one of the key things is communication, keeping each other in the loop on what's going on, and working towards a common solution. So having common goal, common objective that we're working on, and keeping that communication up. And we had to have all sorts of different talent working in that area. They had to be, we had to have complementary skills. We needed analysts, we needed designers, we needed engineers, we needed testers, and they all have their special capabilities, expertise, and experience, and needed to have them work collaboratively on these common solutions, and design things where we could get the back-end systems of each of these firms to integrate with this common platform we're using.
And that must have been tough, not just skill sets, but personalities, I imagine, and everyone not only getting along, but kind of helping each other and thriving.
Right, yeah.
It can't be an easy task.
No, it was interesting, but everybody, a lot of the, in the technology space, even though we were competitors, folks tend to rally around putting in place a solution. Once we had identified what we were doing and why we were doing it, solving the problem was really what made it most interesting for all of us. And we really pulled together to do that.
And that's interesting, because I think now going from kind of a big team like Fidelity, or even working with competitors, to Strawberry Hill, where you're consulting smaller groups,
right.
Startups, nonprofits, things like that, solving a problem tends to be your job now, is going in there, and you don't have all these resources. Is that part of what you like about it?
Yeah, that's what I like about it, the hands-on, working on a problem end to end. And I can't tackle the problems that we would tackle at Fidelity. At Fidelity, you have a whole army of resources you can bring to bear on a problem. We're more like a special forces operation, where we come in and we're working on a very small, defined issue and helping companies resolve that. And I find that interesting. It's much more hands-on and working across the whole problem set in each area of the problem, whereas before I might have a team that was focused on one aspect of the problem that was being solved.
And I think, just going back to Boston being such a hub of, fintech and startups and things like that, you working with a lot of startups, all these people that are tech focused on their product and what they're doing, is it interesting to see that sometimes the background stuff gets put on the back burner?
Yeah, my focus is helping get a technology strategy roadmap set up for these companies, and it's focused on the corporate technology, the technology used to run their business, support their employees. A lot of startups are technology oriented, and their focus, they have a big technology focus, but their focus is on the product they're trying to deliver. That's where they put a lot of their energy, and they don't often upfront put the energy that's needed on the back-end systems, the HR systems, the finance systems, and collaboration platforms that are needed to really support the employees and help them get, deliver for the company, and ultimately for their consumers, their end users. With the startups, I liken it to, we come in and we try to help reduce the chaos, the internal chaos, by putting in place solutions, services, processes that'll help make life easier for the firm, for the associates. With more established firms, we're dealing with small, mid-sized companies, organizations, and nonprofits. With the established firms, it's oftentimes coming in and helping bring more efficiency and effectiveness to the processes they have in place by introducing them to technologies and solutions that'll help them get their job done quicker, easier, less expensively.
And I could see that being big at that nonprofit sector of people either working part-time or working for free, and just trying to get stuff done, trying to get stuff, their heart's in the right place, they're trying to do the right thing, but
they don't have a lot. Yeah, they don't have a lot to spend on these solutions. And historically, these can be quite pricey. But nowadays, you have great services available online in the cloud that are relatively inexpensive and don't require a long time commitment from companies. And what they really need is someone to come in and help them determine which service, which application, which platform is best for them, and then how to tie the platforms together and make sure they're using them to their best advantage.
That's interesting. And that's different than kind of the hectic startup of...
Startups, it's, they're so focused on getting the product or the service in place for their target market, that there's oftentimes a lot of chaos associated with how they're operating internally, collaboration, HR systems, finance systems, and it's good to bring some order to that so that they can operate more efficiently, in a more stable fashion.
Right. And I've noticed that a lot of the fintech startups around here are focused on financial literacy, so kind of helping. Right. They're passionate about it. Yeah. They want to work on that. I find that interesting.
Yeah, I see fintech. People carve fintech up into a number of categories. I see four broad categories. There's education, that's one. Then there's advice and guidance, which is similar to education, but more focused on portfolios and growing portfolios and financial management. And then you have execution, which includes customer service, and then finally compliance. So education, advice and guidance, execution, customer service, and compliance. Those 4 areas where make up the fintech space in my view.
That's interesting. I think that education is sometimes missed in our education. I think that we get all the time. So replacing that with a fintech or something that is accessible to everybody is important.
It's amazing that we don't put as much energy into it as we should in high school and colleges in providing people with the financial literacy they need to go out and operate on a daily basis. The importance of budgeting, the importance of savings, the importance of once you have some savings, diversifying your portfolio, the ins and outs of getting a loan or credit, establishing credit, purchasing major purchases, the finances associated with buying a car, financing college, taking on a mortgage. People are kind of discovering this as they go and jump into these things. It'd be nice if they were better prepared coming out of school. And I think the financial service companies are trying to do more. Financial services organizations, not just the major companies, organizations are trying to do more to build up that financial literacy. But it'd be nice if there were basic courses that folks could take or were required to take before they graduated from high school or even before they graduated from college.
Do you see fintech as kind of a resolution to that people can kind of go out on their own and easily, access something that would be a game or something that isn't so?
It is in part because it's a great way to deliver financial literacy information to help people become financially literate. And then in the course of delivering services, you can tack on explanations, information related to that service that helps people better understand the service, what it is, why they need it, and how best to use it. So yeah, because fintech is delivering these services, it's a great vehicle through which you can also deliver that financial literacy, the information people need to build their financial literacy.
And I think I don't know where this exactly fits in, but when people are developing these programs and talking about, they're always talking now about machine learning, AI, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Where do you kind of see that fitting in what you did at Fidelity, what you're doing now? Are people, when people approach you as a consultant, are they always saying, how do we use it? How do we do this? Is that a big buzzword for you?
It is. My clients so far hasn't been a big need, even though they ask about it. In the fintech space, though, it's a very big component of what is enabling the delivery of these fintech services. Take this customer service, the execution customer service space, in tailoring or personalizing the delivery of services to an individual. The AI machine learning running against these large data sets can better tailor what's being delivered to you, what you see online or what you see through your mobile app, so that it's more focused on what you need at any point in time. Where you are in your, say, career, or where you are with respect to your life and what's going on in your life, what you're buying, what you're transacting. All that information can help and deliver a more customized, more personalized view to you online and through mobile. Also, in the credit area, it allows firms to more quickly and more accurately determine whether or not what you're eligible for credit. Historically, they'd look up your credit score, and based on your credit score and your assets, that it determine, okay, this is what you're eligible for. But now you can add into that your cash flows, your recent purchases, etc. So they get a much more complete picture, and it can actually help you where you might have a weaker credit score. Now with this additional information, you might be eligible for more and better credit than you would simply based on the credit score you have. Insurance underwriting is another area. Premiums that you would qualify for with insurance, or insurance products you qualify for. Insurance companies can, through this AI and machine learning and running against the data that they have available to them, better tailor those insurance products specifically to you and your needs, and offer you premiums that are more optimal for what you're purchasing.
And I think a lot of people, when they hear about AI and machine learning, they feel like it takes that client focus out of it. Like, oh, it's all going to be a machine. It takes people out of it. But it sounds like it actually could do the opposite. It could make services more tailored to clients, more tailored to a specific person, rather than just
right.
a basic overall.
Yeah, you've got to, right. It can be a real benefit to the end consumer in both servicing the end consumer and protecting the end consumer, but it can go the other way as well. And that's why you need really good, experienced engineers and data scientists in the development of these systems to make sure that what is being produced does in fact improve the product the consumer has, improves the service, better protects the consumer, and doesn't go the other way. But that requires good solid engineering to make sure that the models and the data is accurate, and that the models are properly operating to better serve the consumer.
Do you think that's being led by institutions, by established institutions? Is it more startups, people that are focused on one thing, or does one kind of wash the other? How does that?
I'd say they're both playing a part. I think the established institutions have the access to the large volume. They have the funding to invest in these large models and invest in the engineering. But then the startups are very involved in the delivery mechanism, the delivery apps, and developing the ideas for the models, et cetera, that then the larger institutions can invest in.
So it kind of seems like the inspiration goes both ways.
It does, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And just to kind of end with kind of Strawberry Hill and the work you're doing now, what's the biggest kind of issue you've seen in making these roadmaps for folks and coming in? Is it just there probably should be either a full-time person here, or you can see why there would be a need, and you can kind of fill that without being there all the time?
Yeah, I'm helping organizations that have a temporary need for some senior IT leadership to establish a sound strategy and roadmap, an IT roadmap for them to move forward, and then to help them implement that. The challenges is a number of challenges. One is getting a handle on the needs of the organization, the employees, the associates working for that organization. What are their needs? Where do they have gaps in solutions that are getting in the way of their delivering to their marketplace or their customers, their users? So figuring out what their needs are, what their gaps are, what their preferences are. And one of the issues coming in is you have, especially in startups, you've got folks coming in that have experience with a lot of different technologies, and they all have their favorites. But you can't collaborate easily with 4 or 5 different collaboration platforms. You've got to agree on one. So trying to identify, going in and working with the company to identify the platform that's going to best serve the group as a whole, and then getting all the members of the team of the organization on board with that platform, and then using that platform. So identifying, it's coming in and doing an assessment with the organization, with the employees, associates, to determine what the needs are, then establishing a strategy to fulfill those needs, and then a roadmap that identifies the specific technologies that are best suited to satisfy the strategy. Once that's done, then there's a big promotion and adoption exercise that's got to go on, because now you've got to go, and even though you had folks part of the process of identifying the solutions, you've still got to get them on board with embracing the solutions and actually using solutions. So yeah, you can get them agreeing to it, but then oftentimes they're so busy with their day-to-day, changing processes, changing what they work with, how they work with things can be a challenge. So now you have to, kind of work with them to change their day-to-day operations to get on board with the solutions that they've agreed to implement, and getting them using those solutions so that they're making the most of them, so they're gaining the benefit that you were intended to achieve through putting those solutions in place.
Is it hard when you're dealing with folks that are in tech and they're kind of married to certain solutions or married to certain platforms to say no, that might be good if you're a nonprofit, but here at a startup you should do this, or vice versa?
Right. It can be very difficult, and what you've got to keep driving home for folks is that let's not make the perfect the enemy of the good. You have to say, look, a lot of these platforms they have their pros and cons, and this is collaboration platforms, HR platforms, finance platforms. They all have their pros and cons, but you've got to get people agreeing that, look, we may have our favorite, but we can't all have our favorite in here. We can't have 5 finance systems. We can't have 3 collaboration platforms. We can't have 4 different HR systems. We got to figure out which one is the best for us as a whole, and it's not going to be perfect for everybody. It's going to be suboptimal in that regard. It's going to be optimal for the organization as a whole, but suboptimal for maybe individuals and departments. And you say, look, there's greater value in everybody being on the same system than each individual having the absolute optimal system for them. And once you get them on board with that, then you can start to move them into actually using the system and making the most of it, and also working with these, because a lot of these systems are configurable, adaptable, can be made to work like the systems that they're used to or have become most familiar with. So you try to adapt them to their particular needs.
So where could people, if someone is running a nonprofit right now, a startup and level company, where could you be reached? Where would you prefer to be?
Well, I have my website, strawberryhillsolutions.com. They can reach out to me there, or John.Donovan at strawberryhillsolutions.com. They can reach me at that email. Yeah.
Awesome. I really appreciate you joining us. And we'll talk soon. We'll stay in the loop. Hopefully some roundtables coming up and things like that. So
I noticed that MCS is sponsoring the Fintech Week here.
Coming in October. So that should be fun. I don't know if you're going to be at any events or anything.
I might, but the Fintech Sandbox is big in this area. You've got Fidelity is a sponsor, EY a sponsor, Goodwin a sponsor, Fintech Sandbox. That's another, so here's another example of how folks in this area are investing in fintech, innovating with fintech, and I encourage folks that want to learn more about fintech to check out Fintech Sandbox, and definitely check out Fintech Week coming up here in October.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because I think it's a really good event to actually talk to people in person. I think coming out of COVID, everything's been Zoom, and kind of hopefully breaking out of that a little bit. It's really good to find like-minded folks and partners and things like that. So of course we'll be there, and obviously would encourage everyone to go and give us a call. We'd love to have a chat.